Hey guys, Massive Dynamic here with another episode. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about mining, mining density and efficiencies in mining. And so to begin, let's take a look at, this is a normal iron patch. I believe it's about 12 million. Yeah, 12 million. I'm going to ignore this little spot here. So we're just going to mine the big patch here. And I've prepared all my blueprints. But just to start off, we're going to look at what a lot of players do. This is what I did when I first started playing Factorio. Was I looked at my miner and I saw that it had that great big what is it, 5x5 area of coverage, and so I laid out my miners what I thought was efficiently by placing them in a 9x9, or 5x5 pattern so that it got the maximum coverage of mine. Of course, you would normally in the beginning of the game, we're going to talk about the beginning of the game, mid-game, and late game mining. So the beginning of the game, resources are limited, and in my opinion, I want to mine out. I want to set up my mine as quickly as possible. I don't have robots. I have to do everything by hand. So let's talk about that at first. So anyway, this is how I did it when I first started playing Factorio. And I laid out my miners like this, and it was kind of clunky and time consuming. Of course, I was using wooden power poles. That would be normal at this stage in the game. But obviously this is not very dense and quite inefficient in that you waste all the space between the miners. That's a lot of wasted space. So I would not recommend mining that way. You can do whatever you want. It's a game. You can play your game the way you want to play your game. But if you want to look at density and efficiencies, then that's what we're talking about today. So this is how I mine normally, especially in the early game, is I just take a miner. I kind of examine the patch, see which way I want to go with it, vertical or horizontal, and then I usually start. I'll either start at the edge or start like in the middle in the biggest place and work my way out from there. But you just lay your miners down in a straight line like this, and then take your power pools. They can be wooden power pools, which they normally would be, but I'm going to go ahead and use the medium power pools just because it does save a little bit of, with the wooden power pool you have to put one here to make that final connection from side to side like that, and then you take your your belt and run it right down the middle, and boom, you have a set of miners. Now, one thing you should know is that it takes 30 miners to fill a yellow belt with ore. Basically, that's the basic number. So there's 32 miners, so that's one yellow belt of ore. So that's pretty good. I have, 2 extra miners, but that's okay. I usually ignore any extras. But when you go to create your first smelting array, remember 32 miners to fill your yellow belt, and then it's going to take 48 furnaces to smelt one full yellow belt. So 30 miners, 48 furnaces. Those are the basic numbers for your beginning mining. So that is how I get started. Just because it's quick, that's how all the speedrunners do it. It's the quickest, easiest way, I think, to mine a patch. And here we have a blueprint that would mine this entire patch. If I put it down in the right spot, it should use every one of these miners and get all of the 12 million except for this little spot that we're ignoring. So there's the blueprint. So if we look at that blueprint, this is it right here. I call it the fast setup mining. It uses 308 belts, 179 miners, and 37 medium power poles to mine that patch. So 179, I should have done this math ahead of time, divided by 30 would be, what is that, a little over 5 lanes of ore. out of there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 lanes showing. So you would use a balancer to take that from 6 lanes to 5 lanes. And there you would have your 4 lanes of iron, and you could send the 5th one for steel. There's something else that you should know, is that your steel is a 5-to-1 ratio. It takes 5 iron ore to make 1 steel. So the smelting is still the same 1-to-1 ratio, in that you would take 1 lane of iron ore into 48 furnaces, and you'd take that 1 lane of iron plates into 48 more furnaces, and you would actually create 1/5 of a yellow belt of steel. So it would actually take 5 lanes, like this entire patch, all 5 lanes, to make 1 full lane of steel. I don't know if everybody knows that, but that is how that works. So there you have it. That is what I consider the fastest way to mine a patch, especially early game when you're doing everything by hand. With robots, anything, you can do anything with robots, because it takes all the work out of it. You don't have to run up and down the lanes, and you just kind of wait here for a second, and the robots will do all the work for you. So this is like for early game, just getting started, limited resources. I think this is the least expensive and the quickest way to get your early game up and running. Now, a lot of players really like, let me show you how it's done first. Really like this, what I call underground mining, where it's basically the same initial setup, where you take 1 lane of miners like this, and then you take your underground belts, and you do it all with underground belt. And actually, once you do this, and you do this, and you go skip back and forth, underground, 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 and underground and out. And then you have to take your power poles and, well, fill in your gaps with your belts here. And you can do this with yellow or red belts. A lot of players are in a hurry to go to red belts, but remember, red belts move a lot more ore. They move 45 ore per second instead of 30. So it takes more miners to fill a red belt. So just remember that when you do your calculations. Anyway, you take your other set of miners and you come up the other way, and there you have it. And then you take your power pools and you put them in the gaps here, and you can run down and do that. And that is, it doesn't take too long. It takes a little bit longer, but it is, in my opinion, more expensive, in that it takes more time, and it takes all those underground belts, which are especially in the early game. I think they're expensive in the early game. I don't believe that they're worth the extra effort for what you get out of it. So here is the regular underground mining, and if I stand right here, I'm going to get trapped inside, but that's okay. That's what Spidertron's for. And I've laid this out for this patch, and if I place this correctly, I should get the entire patch just like that. Place that down. See if I can get out of the way. I'm going to get stuck in here. Okay, I'm out. I'm okay. So while the bots are filling that up, let me see if I can get back in the middle. If I run down I should be safe here. While that's filling up, we'll take a look at that regular underground mining blueprint, and you'll see that it uses 210 miners, 124 underground belts, 120 regular transport belts, and 62 power poles. That's the medium power poles. Of course, you would normally use wooden power poles in the beginning of the game. I'm not going to say that again. We all know that. But you get 210 miners. So 210 divided by 30 would be 6 lanes. That'd be 180. That would actually be 7 lanes. So The density of this does make it a little bit better, quite a bit better. You get 2 more lanes, 7 lanes of iron out of this patch then with 210 miners. 210 divided by 30 is 7, I believe. 7, 14, 21. Yeah, that's correct. So it is worth it for the density. I think once you have robots, definitely it's worth the time and effort. But again, in the early game, I think the time that it takes me is more annoying, and the expense of it is too much for me personally. But again, you can do whatever you want in your game. I mean, the density makes it valuable that you get the 2 extra lanes out of it by using that method. And early game density is important. It's just what's more important to you. Is it your time and your energy, especially if you're playing on with biters on, where time is a little bit more urgency because you want to have systems in place to fight off the biters, and you'd rather spend your time producing, say, military science so that you can fight off the biters. But that's your decision. Okay, the third one we're going to look at is what I call dense mining 1, and this is another setup. This one's quite a bit more time consuming to set up. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but what you do is you stagger left, right, like this. I mean, I will show you the whole blueprint, but I'm not going to show you the whole setup procedure. So then you take your underground and you go here and you start running, and you end up here, and then you go here and you start running. Okay, and then you place your power poles in these gaps like this, and then you take your next set of miners and you stagger back and forth again. And you end up with that kind of density. Okay, so then I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up real quick. So that's how that works. And then we'll throw that blueprint down, which is this one here, dense mining 1 with yellow belts. And again, now this one will definitely trap me in here because there's no way out of this one. That's my main argument with this setup, is that you can't get into the middle of it. And when you're using robots and you kind of want to stand in the middle of it to get your robots going, but it'll trap you in. If you don't have a spider to rescue you, you'll get stuck in there. So I'm going to try to get out of here before that happens. And then you have to run around the perimeter. I mean, this is fine, as long as you have robots. Like I said, as long as you have robots, it's all good, because the robots will do all the work, and that's what they're all about, right? Is taking all that work away from you. Let me see, I guess do you have some more? I guess the robots are tired. There they go, they're going to finish that off, okay. Alright, so then let's take a look at that blueprint. I call that dense mining 1, yellow, I don't know why, that's just what I came up with. Anyways, 237 yellow undergrounds, 210 miners again, so it's the same density as the one with just undergrounds, 57 power poles, and only 44 regular belts. So you get the same density. It's a little more work, well, I think quite a bit more work, and so again you would get 7 lanes out of that same mine with more effort. So again, it's up to you, however you want to allocate your time and energy and resources. If you like the look of that, or whatever it is that appeals to you about it, then there you have it. You can do it that way. Then there's a red version of that one. It's the same setup. I'm just going to look at it while the bots are working. It's the same setup, except instead of every 1 miner you stagger, you use 2 miners and stagger. And then you have to use a few more red undergrounds in some places. You can't zoom in on a blueprint, but I'll show you once I lay it down. You have to use a few more undergrounds in order to get your power poles in between there. And you'll see that this actually ends up with 209 miners with red belts though. So to me, it's not worth the effort. I mean, once you have a blueprint, there's, you know, literally no effort because you just... Okay, hold on now. Why don't we pick up this stuff over here? Pick it all up, guys. Don't quit on me. What are you doing? You're just sitting there. You're not even doing anything. Why aren't you working? Okay, so anyway. So let's put down dense mining red. Dense mining 2 red. And again, this should mine the entire patch if I put it in the right spot. Where is that spot? Close. There it is, okay. And boom, there's 209 miners, and we'll let that fill in, and then I'll show you a close-up of that little tricky place that I was... please let me out of here. Don't trap me, don't trap me. Okay, I'm out. Okay, so we'll run around the perimeter. So it's kind of hard to see with goats, and for some reason I didn't bring enough red undergrounds to fill the entire blueprint, but I think we'll be able to see it. No, I should have turned Afraid of the Dark on. I forgot to turn Afraid of the Dark on for this video. Okay, so here you have it. So see how the power poles fit in there? And you have to go underground, 1 belt, underground, power pole, underground, 1 belt. Or underground, underground. To fit in that gap, and then underground belt, underground power pole, underground, underground, and then that pattern continues. And as I said, this is slightly less dense for whatever reason. It could be just that I started, you know, a couple of tiles different than the other one. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but it does mine the same patch, and everything about it is similar except for the amount of work that it takes to do by hand. So there's what is that, 4th pattern, I guess. 1 was the simple, don't use it. 2 is the quick one. 3 is the dense, the quickest of the dense. 4, so that's 5. And now the densest of the dense, which is a great idea if you have bots. And I'm only using yellow belts on this, but you could use red or blue belts with it, and you'll see the difference in the density on this one. This is very dense, and it's kind of... oh, let me show you how to build it. It's kind of annoying to build by hand, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. So you start with 2 miners left and right, and you go 1 up, 1 down, and then you go left, right, and then up, and continue that, left, right, up. It's kind of annoying to build by hand. And then you go with your underground belts, and you have to start somewhere. I'm gonna just start here. It doesn't matter because we're gonna use the robots to actually fill it in, but you go there, and then you can run with it, which is a good thing. And then your power poles go in that spot right there, and there, and there, and there. And then that staggers, offsets left and right, and it ends up looking like this. And this one, you'll definitely get trapped inside of this one. So this is one that I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing this one by hand. I have seen guys do it by hand, and you know, great. That's, if you want to do that, go for it. But it's just way too much hassle for me. I'm more That's just I can't deal with that much hassle in my life. Although the density is pretty impressive. We'll see if the bots can handle this thing. While you know what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give everything to my little. Why is it all going in the trash? Oh, that's why. Well, that's silly of me. No wonder he's not helping. I told him not to help me. Oh, that was just crazy. Okay, let's take all that back out. And then put it back in. And why is it back in your trash again? I don't know. I don't understand you, Spidertron. Are you not on? What is your deal? I don't know why Spidertron's being annoying to me. I'm not seeing something. Whatever it is. You guys probably see it. Okay, so anyway, let's look at the density on this one, and I call this dense mining 3. And again, you can use red, yellow, or blue belts on this one. So there you have 222 miners, so that's an extra 12 miners, 178 underground belts, 60 regular belts, and 94 power poles. So it's more expensive, definitely more expensive, definitely more time consuming, but definitely more dense. You pick up an extra 12 mining machines, which for yellow belts really doesn't matter that much because you're still only going to get 7 lanes out of it, 7 plus, less than half a lane, 7.5 lanes out of that. So there you have it, guys. That's a little bit on mining, density, and your expenses involved in mining. So you can take this information and use it to make your Factorio play more productive. And that'll be the end of this episode. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment, and we'll talk soon. See you next time.